right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're diving into the claims behind a technology called Radiant Phi. The whole idea here is that invisible frequencies all around us can actually interact with our body's own energy. So, what exactly is this source proposing? Let's get into it. So the source we're digging into today kicks off with a pretty big idea, that our modern world is just completely saturated with electromagnetic waves. From our phones, our Wi-Fi, these frequencies are passing through everything, and that includes us, our own bodies. And that, right there, leads to the big question the source is asking. I mean, if these waves are literally everywhere, what are they doing to our biology? This one question is really the key to the whole theory we're about to unpack. So, to start exploring that, we're going to look at the source's view on what it calls an energetic imbalance in our modern world. Okay, so the argument goes something like this. Technology has obviously changed everything, right? But in doing so, it's also created this dense network of frequencies all around us. And according to the source, this network is a real challenge for the human body, which it says is this incredibly sensitive electromagnetic system. Okay, so if the environment is supposedly out of balance, then what happens to our bodies? That's the logical next step, right? And that's where this idea of lost coherence comes in. So this is really the core conflict the source presents. You've got two states. On one side, you have what it calls the coherent body, regenerative, balanced, in harmony. And on the other side, the devitalized body, incoherent, unbalanced, disordered. The whole point here, the central claim, is that if you can just restore that coherence, the body's natural ability to regenerate will just kick back in. But what exactly is coherence? Well, to get a handle on the solution they're proposing, we have to look at how this source itself defines it. And it's not some vague, fuzzy concept. They're very specific. It's the body's natural state of bioelectric order. And you gotta remember that definition, because it's absolutely key to understanding the tech we're gonna talk about next. And that brings us right to the technology itself, Radiant Phi. Now, it's not presented as your typical medical or therapeutic device. Instead, they call it an instrument of resonance. Yeah, this quote really hits at the heart of their whole philosophy. The key word here is remembering. The claim is that the tech doesn't force or impose frequencies on you. No, the whole goal is just to create an environment, a space, where your cells can supposedly remember and rediscover their own natural, balanced rhythm all by themselves. And this really builds on that last point. The source is super clear about this. The body isn't just some passive thing getting zapped. They see it as an intelligent system that already has the ability to fix itself. It just needs the right environment to do it. Okay, so how is it supposed to do all this? Let's get into the nitty-gritty, the mechanics, and the, let's say, scientific-sounding principles the source claims this whole thing is built on. Well, the explanation they give leans really heavily on this concept of scalar waves. They attribute the idea to Nikola Tesla, and according to the source material, these aren't like your normal electromagnetic waves. They're supposed to reinforce coherence and create these special resonant fields. Now, it's really important to point out here that the whole idea of scalar waves, whether they exist and what they do, that's a big subject of debate and not something recognized by mainstream physics. So, the whole interaction is described as creating a living energetic circuit. It's basically a three-step process. First, the device creates this coherent field. Step 2, you, the user, become part of that circuit through something called self-induction. And then finally, your body is said to actively take part in its own recharge and reorganization. All right, so what's supposed to happen when you do this? What are the results? This last section goes through the whole list of benefits the source claims you can get once your body's coherence is back in line. And wow, the list of claimed benefits is pretty long. You've got physical stuff like better oxygenation and blood circulation. Then there's more systemic stuff like a stronger immune system and getting your body back to homeostasis. They even mention achieving a state of expansive calm. And a really big selling point that the source highlights is that all of this is supposedly achieved naturally. We're talking no invasive procedures, and maybe most importantly, they claim there are no side effects. And the source wraps it all up with this pretty grand vision. It positions this technology as a bridge, really, something that connects ancient wisdom with a totally new way of looking at the future, a future where science, art, and spirit all come together. And so, we're left with this final, really thought-provoking question from the source material about our true electrical nature. It frames this whole thing not just as a piece of hardware, but as a way to reconnect with, well, the universe. It's a compelling story for sure, and it really makes you think about that line between what's established science, what's theoretical, and what falls into deeper philosophical beliefs.